Good afternoon. Before we start our program, I would like to request a moment of silence in honor of RHS Athletic Hall of Famer Corey Pusey, who passed away very unexpectedly this past Tuesday, September 10th. Thank you. As is customary with events of this size, it is mandatory to read the following emergency protocol statement. In an effort to ensure everyone's safety in case of an emergency, please take note of the emergency exits located at both the front and rear of the auditorium. Please note the closest emergency exit to your seating area, and remember that you do not have to exit through the same door in which you entered. To report an emergency, please dial 911. In an event of an emergency, please follow the instructions of emergency personnel and officials at this event. Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome. And for those of you who are alumni, welcome back to Rockville High School and the 7th annual Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I am Scott Smith, chair of the Hall of Fame committee, and on behalf of the committee, I would like to thank everyone for being here this afternoon as we honor and celebrate the accomplishments of the Rockville High School athletics program. Prior to the introduction of our 7th induction class, I would like to introduce current members of the Hall of Fame who will be here with us this afternoon and will be lining up to greet our current induction class as part of the Hall of Fame entrance ceremony. Diane Schaefer-Smith and Larry Willett. Hall of Fame induction is the highest honor an institution can bestow upon any individual, and we are very pleased to be able to add 8 extremely worthy names to our Hall of Fame roster this afternoon. At this time, I would like to introduce to you the members of the 7th induction class of the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame and their presenters for this afternoon's program. Our first inductee, being presented by her former RHS volleyball coach, Kim Marinin, from the class of 2003, Julie A. Blowers-Birch. Our second inductee, being presented by his wife, Sue Brand, from the class of 1975, Patrick M. Brand. Our third inductee, being presented by his RHS teammate Bruce Ferris, from the class of 1974, Thomas A. Crane. Our fourth inductee, being presented by his RHS teammate Joe Verdon, from the class of 1984, Jeffrey G. Johnson. Our fifth inductee, being presented by her former softball coach, Tom Gordon, from the class of 2004, Lauren E. Pearson. Our sixth inductee, being presented by her former RHS girls basketball coach and RHS Hall of Famer Jim Martello, from the class of 1987, Amy M. Schrag. Our seventh inductee, being presented by his RHS teammate Greg Smith, from the class of 1992, Sean B. Trask. And our eighth inductee, being presented by his former RHS baseball coach and RHS Hall of Famer Art Wheelock, from the class of 1991, Matthew A. Valentino. Ladies and gentlemen, the 8 members of the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame class of 2009. And now, we have a few special guests with us this afternoon who would like to share a few remarks. Beginning with our state senator from the 35th District and mayor of the town of Vernon, from the class of 1988, Daniel A. Champagne.
Thank you, everyone. And I just came up today to congratulate those inductees that are going into the Hall of Fame today. What an honor and what a memory to come back to our school. For many of us, the auditorium wasn't here back then. So enjoy it, and if you get a chance, walk around the school a little bit and look at the changes. Again, congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor Champagne. Next, I would like to introduce to the podium Superintendent of Schools for the town of Vernon, Dr. Joseph McCary.
Good afternoon and welcome everyone. On behalf of the Vernon Public Schools, welcome to Rockville High School. Just a few thoughts. First of all, I want to thank the Rockville High School Hall of Fame Committee. This is an important thing that's a part of the fabric of the Rockville High School and the Vernon Public Schools. Having a Hall of Fame where we honor our student athletes in the past gives us a sense of pride for those in the future. And I think having an event like this is very, very important for all of us. To the inductees, welcome home. Welcome back to Rockville High School, and thank you for all your years of service, what you did both on and off the fields, in athletics, in academics, and we're very, very proud of your accomplishments. I'm looking forward to hearing from everyone tonight. Welcome back, and thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. And finally, RHS Director of Athletics, Jeff Farrell.
Good afternoon, everyone. Like Mr. Smith said, I am Jeff Farrell, the Athletic Director here. I'd first like to just offer an apology on behalf of Mrs. Apple. She was unable to be here today. She would like to, but unfortunately was not able to. She offers her congratulations to the inductees. On a personal note, I'd just like to thank the committee for all their hard work. I had the opportunity this year to sit in with them throughout the year, and it's something that they put a lot of time and effort into, so thank you to the committee members. To the inductees, congratulations, and I appreciate the fact that you give our current student athletes something to aspire to be and someone to look up to. A lot of the times the students will go over to the display in the school and take a few minutes to read the bios of all the inductees, and it gives them something to strive for. So thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. As it states in the RHS Athletic Hall of Fame bylaws, the purpose of the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame is to recognize and honor those former athletes, coaches, and administrators who have distinguished themselves through outstanding contributions to the Rockville High School athletic program. Recognition may be given in the form of possible Hall of Fame induction or consideration for the more recently established John R. Williams Jr. Exceptional Service Award, given in honor of the longtime RHS teacher and athletic faculty manager, John Williams. The Hall of Fame committee uses every means necessary to assemble an appropriate list of names for possible consideration for both Hall of Fame induction as well as for the Williams Exceptional Service Award. The most difficult obstacle facing the committee is there is no longer an archive of accomplishments or statistics available here at the high school. All information obtained has either been researched by our dedicated committee members or has been provided by the many former administrators, coaches, athletes, and community members to whom the Rockville High School athletic program has meant so much to. The Hall of Fame committee is always looking for individuals to serve on the committee, and we are especially looking for information in regard to worthy individuals who fit either the Hall of Fame or Williams Exceptional Service Award criteria. If you feel you have any further questions in regard to the Hall of Fame and its process, please check out the frequently asked questions section in your induction program. And for those of you who might be willing to help us by providing names, information, or even possibly joining the committee, please reach out to one of the committee members who are also listed in your induction program. The next time you visit RHS, please be sure to visit the Hall of Fame's permanent display, which is located in the foyer outside of the main entrance to the gymnasium. Individual picture plaques representing all 52 of our current Hall of Famers, as well as large framed photos of each induction class, are prominently displayed. In the future, the display area will be expanded to include a permanent display for the John R. Williams Jr. Exceptional Service Award recipients. These displays will forever serve as a reminder of the history and tradition of Rockville athletics and should help to inspire the athletes of today to one day have their own plaque hanging on that wall. Finally, on behalf of the Hall of Fame committee, I would like to thank all of you for spending your afternoon with us and for your ongoing support of Rockville Athletics and the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Thank you. And now I am very pleased to introduce the Master of Ceremonies for all 7 of our induction ceremonies, longtime teacher and coach of the RHS cross country and track and field teams, the voice of the RHS Athletic Hall of Fame, Mr. David Smith.
Thank you very much, Steve. It's an honor and a pleasure to have this opportunity this afternoon, and I want to extend a terrific welcome to all of you. Mayor Champagne, Superintendent Carey, Athletic Director Farrell, Mrs. Fisher from the Board of Education, friends, family, and especially to our new inductees. Welcome. It's great to have you all with us. When I was trying to put together my remarks for this afternoon, I could not get away from the remarks that I made on the first induction ceremony back in June of 2013. At that time, I noted to the athletes and the coaches that their moments in the sun have passed. They have faded in memory, and that's okay, because, as Springsteen reminds us, those glory days, they pass you by in the wink of a young girl's eye. But that's okay. Things happen. You go to graduation, there's college, there's military service maybe, family, careers, so many other things take priority in your life, and that's okay. But this afternoon, what we want to do is provide you with another moment in the sun, which has become a recurring theme of our ceremonies. Another moment in the sun, we want to bring those memories back into sharp focus for you. So, enjoy every minute, every minute. One final note. No fewer than 3 of our inductees have asked the coach to come back and present them into the hall. Also, so many of the questionnaires that we got back from the inductees indicated their gratitude and appreciation for their coaches, their teachers, family, friends, and teammates, and their respective roles in their development as athletes and ultimately as human beings and contributing members of society. And for a coach to come back and present his or her athlete into the hall doesn't get any better. So having said all that, another welcome to everybody. Let's get started. At this time, I'd like to invite Julie Flowers-Birch and Kim Merritt to the stage, please. Our first inductee is a 2003 graduate of Rockville High School who distinguished her time here in 2 sports. We'll cover gymnastics first, starting with the fact that she was recognized as an all-state athlete all 4 years. Along the way, she specialized in vault and uneven parallel bars, as well as all-around competition. In her sparkling freshman season, during which her team won 11 of 12 meets, Julie paced her team for its first CCC East Conference Championship. At the end of that season, Rockville placed a close second in the Class L meet, 3rd place in the state open. To top it all off, the Hartford Current named her to its honorable mention team. Julie served her team as captain twice, and as a senior, drove her team to a 3rd place finish in the Class L meet that year. At the end of her senior season, the Hartford Current placed her on the best of the best team, a status reserved only for the 12 best gymnasts in Connecticut, thus putting an exclamation point on an outstanding high school career in gymnastics. Clearly an exceptional athlete, she continued her success in volleyball, helping her team to a winning level in CCC East competition of 80%. Serving as captain during her senior season, She was a big factor as the Rams won their second league title. During her senior season, she was one of 9 Connecticut women finalists in the Wendy's High School Award, an effort to recognize student contribution in the classroom, athletics, and community. The CIAC invited her to attend the Scholar Athlete Banquet at the AquaTurf, reserved only for the 2 best athletes per school. Congratulations to her. Presenting Julie this afternoon is her volleyball coach, Kim Merritt. Kim.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Let me start by saying congratulations to all of the inductees being honored here this afternoon. You all have had an impact on the athletics of Rockville High School, and it is an honor to be a part of this ceremony and to be here recognizing all of your accomplishments. I am humbled to be here presenting Julie Blowers-Birch on her induction. Julie and I entered the gym almost exactly 20 years ago in August of 1999 as newbies to the game of volleyball. I had been hired to be the JV coach under Leo Sales, who was starting his first year as the varsity coach, and Julie was an incoming freshman new to the sport. I coached Julie for close to 20 years and can honestly say that Julie and the team she came in with have had such a special place in my heart as we all came in together and grew together, winning the conference championship in 2002. This team was close on and off the court. I remember pasta parties at Julie's. They were always fun and lasted way longer than they were supposed to because they all loved hanging out together. Julie stood out right away to Coach Sales and myself with her natural talent. She was quick, she was agile, and she could jump. With no previous experience, Julie picked up the game very quickly, and it was not a surprise when she was moved to the varsity level as a sophomore. Unfortunately, Coach Sales moved down south after 2 years, taking on a college coaching position. But I was lucky enough to move up to varsity, and as it worked out, the JV team moved up together as well to join Julie. They became one of the strongest teams I've ever had, winning the CCC East Conference over South Windsor their senior year in 2002. Just as she was a phenomenal athlete, Julie was also an exceptional leader. She led by example, always striving to learn more and improve her skills. Her ability to relate to all players, to communicate effectively, and to demonstrate the effectiveness of hard work earned her that recognition of captain her senior year. On just a side note, Coach Sales wanted me to let you know how immensely proud he is of your accomplishments and that he sends his love. Although Julie was a talented volleyball player, she was an outstanding gymnast. Julie began participating in gymnastics at the age of 5, and when she arrived at Rockville, she competed for Rockville at Tri-Town in Vernon under Coach Dennis Adams. Julie earned all conference and all state each year she competed. I had the opportunity to go watch a meet, and although not surprised, I remember being amazed at her ability. Julie is competitive and has perseverance and tenacity, which I strongly feel played a part in her being the only gymnast from Rockville to compete on a national level. During her senior year, Julie applied for the Wendy's Heisman and was selected to the regional New England team. The reception was at Gillette Stadium, which had just been built and was a highlight during her senior year. I was honored to join her and the family as she was allowed to invite a coach to attend. Julie has a strong, supportive family, and I've been lucky enough to also have had all of her sisters participate in volleyball as well. In addition to her athletic ability, Julie was an outstanding student. Her combined athletic and academic abilities earned her Scholar Athlete of the Year her senior year, as well as that Wendy's recognition. Julie was and is an amazing young woman. She was an all-academic, all-conference, all-state, and Scholar athlete. She is the epitome of a Hall of Fame inductee, and it is my pleasure to present Julie Blowers-Birch for induction into the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Coach, and thank you, everybody, for coming this afternoon. Living in the Midwest now, I get asked on a regular basis, not where are you from, but where did you go? Referencing where did you go to high school? There's a sense of pride in that. Pride in where you went to school and ultimately where you're from. Where you spent those pivotal years of your life, and athletics plays a big part in that school pride. The simple phrasing of this question provides the opportunity to reminisce about those years each time someone asks. For me, the majority of those memories of high school are centered around athletic events and endeavors, from pasta parties to bus trips to locker room shenanigans, and of course, the the wins and successes that were achieved. A few of my favorites include representing Rockville in the state of Connecticut at the National Gymnastics Championships in Las Vegas. My senior year was a trip of a lifetime. In volleyball, winning that game against South Windsor to clinch the conference championship. I still vividly see that last point hitting the floor. Being invited up to Gillette Stadium for the Wendy's High School Heisman banquet. Other banquets at the AquaTurf, and the all-state and all-conference honors that came with it, and so many more memories. And I have so many people to thank for helping me in those successes and achievements along the way. First and foremost, my parents. Mom, for always being that face in the crowd. My rock, for holding down the fort at home while providing the support to me. I can't imagine how hard it must have been, but I can tell you how easy you made it look. Dad, for fostering my love of sports with an early introduction to its physicality as a football coach here at Rockville, and for pushing me to push myself. I know you both enjoy these events so much, so here's to one last awards banquet and one last ceremony, and hopefully I can pass that torch on to your grandchildren someday. To my siblings, Randy, Christine, Michelle, and Laura, thanks for putting up with my life in sports. I know it wasn't easy to sit through the meets, the games, and even just the car rides back and forth. No, I'm appreciative that you did. You guys allowed me to succeed. Thank you for forcing me to be competitive. 4 girls in 1 bedroom. And Randy, that ghost man cannot steal a base. Hopefully, to some extent, I have fulfilled a desire to become a positive role model for you as well and your families in the future. To my coaches, from the early ones to the ones at Rockville, Bill and the Winningers gymnastics staff, thank you for being my second home, my second family. Gymnastics taught me and prepared me so much for life. To Dennis Adams and the Tri-Town gymnastics staff for helping me grow as a gymnast and to enjoy the art of competition. To Coach Marinan and Coach Sales for teaching me volleyball and the joys of being on a team and competing against an opponent. And finally, to the athletic department here and the Hall of Fame committee, thank you for the pride that I get to feel when I answer that question of where did you go with I went to Rockville High School. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to invite Pat Graham and his wife Sue Graham to the stage, please. Up next, the 1975 graduate of RHS, who started running for his school as a freshman and didn't stop until after graduation from UConn. He played basketball during the winter of his first and second years here, but he made a name for himself in cross-country track. As an undergraduate cross-country runner, Pat finished 5th in the CDC conference meet, and that prompted the Journal-Enquirer sports staff to comment that Pat's performance was remarkable for an underclassman. As a junior, he helped lead Rockville to a 7th place finish in the state open, and then as a senior, he finished 2nd in the CBC conference meet, and that earned him all-conference recognition. Not done yet, and he led his team to a third-place finish in the Class L meet and 8th place in the state event. In track, Pat kept lowering the school record in the 2-mile run by big chunks until he set the indoor record 9:31, which still stands today. In my opinion, that record will continue to endure. As a top performer in track, he earned all conference and all state honors. He credits his coach, Jim Balcom, for believing in him and in Pat's teammates. And Coach Balcom pushed them all to be their best. Pat's family includes his wife and 4 grown children, and they are here this afternoon. And to present, Pat is his wife, Sue Brady. Sue?
Thank you very much. It truly is an honor and a pleasure to be here today. It's a beautiful day outside, and all you have to do is look around and see coaches' faces, family members, sons, daughters, and that's the reason all these people are so successful. This award is about Pat, for me, and it's about the people here who made it happen. Let's start with Pat, who I'm lucky to call my husband, and whose journey started here, right here, at Rockville High School. Pat's freshman year, he tried out for football. Though tall, he was quite lean and fast, and boy, he was fast. I hear he was always the first to finish each of the football running drills. However, a very wise football coach could see his talent for running and suggested he try out for cross country instead. Thank you, Coach. From that point on, running and racing became an integral part of Pat's life. When he was just 16, his father, Don Brand, drove him to his first marathon. Special thanks to Don for always supporting Pat's running. Pat's mother, Mary, documented his running triumphs, which actually most of which you can see outside in display, keeping a scrapbook of all his accomplishments published in the newspaper. Another very special thank you to Mary. However, Mary, I do wonder if the reason is those accolades is the reason that Pat became a newspaper delivery boy. That way, he could be the first to check and see if his wins were in the morning paper and proudly deliver it to you. In addition to being his family, Pat's closest friend circle evolved around cross country too. His best friends and teammates, Joel Knoll, Dan Foley, used to goof around a lot before races, and Coach Balcom had to corral them, train them, and make sure they got to the start on time. Coach Balcom laid the foundation for a successful running career in high school, college, and for a healthy lifestyle, which Pat has carried throughout his entire life. My sincere thank you to Coach Balcom. Pat enjoys competition to this day. He competes annually in the Block Island Sprint Triathlon, powering through that long run on the beach under the beating summer sun and deep sand, smiling through the finish most of the time, and always first to run to check the results. Some things never change. There are many life lessons to learn from sports: to work hard, to play fair, and take pride in what you do, and to enjoy yourself, just to name a few. Pat has learned them well, and he has passed them on to our children. In fact, all 4 of our children competed in track and field and cross country at the state level and have carried with them these lessons, thanks to Pat. Congratulations to my husband, Pat Brand, on this honor, and thank you to Mary and Don, Coach Balcom, the Rockville High School Committee, as well as the Rockville High School community for this honor. It is now my pleasure to present Pat Brand for the induction into the Rockville High School Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Pat.
Thank you, Babe. We call each other Babe.
I'm sorry.
And And it's really a thrill and an honor to be with you here with you today. I want to start off by thanking everyone who came to support me today. The entire row is filled. And I just want to acknowledge everyone who came, including from some long distances to be here. Starting off with our son Patrick and his fiancee Emma, our son Jimmy and his beloved Katrina, our daughter Elizabeth, and unfortunately my other daughter Katie is in France and she couldn't be with us, but she sends her regards this morning as well. All of my kids, as Sue said, were star athletes in their own right, and I appreciate very much the fact that you took the time to be with us today. I'd also like to recognize my mom and dad. As Sue said, you know, at races you don't get a lot of spectators in cross country. You really don't. You know, it's not Friday Night Lights. And my mom showed up for many races, both at the high school level and at UConn, when I ran at UConn. And as Sue said, my father on the weekends would make sure that I got to the road races before I was able to drive. So I want to thank both of you for your support throughout. We sometimes take our parents for granted, and I'm very much lucky to have had their support throughout my running career. Also here are my sisters Diane and Colleen's husband Carl. Thanks as well for coming. And my coach Jim Balcom and his wife Joy was not able to make it today. Coach, the reason why you're not up here is because this is all about you, and I wanted you to enjoy the moment, Coach. I can't see where you are. There you are, Coach. Thank you. We're going to talk about that a little bit. I'm going to give folks a flavor for some of what we went through together, which was all very, very positive and memorable. I'd like to thank the committees, Scott Smith, Larry Willett, and particularly Dave Broward. Dave contacted me about 3 years ago, and he was really instrumental in showing the committee that I deserved a spot as well. So thank you very much, Dave and the committee. And I'd also like to thank the honored guests who spoke as well earlier. Now I've used a lot of my allotted time, and I know Scott Smith will get the hook out, so I'm going to be brief from this point forward. Simply put, the opportunities at Rockville High School and Coach Balcom provided me beginning in the fall of 1971 to my graduation in 1975 set a strong foundation for success for the rest of my life. I want to take you back to 1971. It was the middle of the Vietnam War. Anti-war protests, seniors getting drafted to join the armed services. Some of my friends in high school had brothers who died in the war. I mean, can you imagine what it was like back in those times? And picture a 13-year-old kid in a white t-shirt who had never run a road race in his life, showing up for the no-cut cross-country team. The coach was a 20-something-year-old, Jim Balcom, dark mustache, big smile, same as today, younger than my 4 kids are today. And I had an opportunity to start on the freshman team. I threw up after my first race. Worked my way up to varsity and wanted to be part of something. What I got was much more. My sophomore year, Coach Balcom created the nucleus of a championship team. We were virtually undefeated in the Central Valley Conference over the next 3 years. I mean, literally, virtually undefeated. Joe Knoll, Dan Foley, Russ Herman, and Dave Taylor were our Big 5 runners. We were the team to beat in the Central Valley Conference, but Coach had our sights on a state title. My junior and senior years, we won the state sectionals, placed high in the class meet. The big prize, as I mentioned, was the state open. And on a cold and rainy day at UConn in Storrs, Connecticut, Coach called the play for us to run, set the pace with an opening mile of 4 minutes and 45 seconds on a cold, hilly, and rainy day. I don't know if you remember that, Coach, but you called the play and we listened and executed. As it turns out, we didn't quite reach our goal that day, but we learned from Coach a life lesson in the importance of setting a worthwhile goal and trying your best to accomplish it. Now, at that time, our cross-country team, as was mentioned earlier, was described as being the best in the history of Rockville High School and one of the best in the state. Our coach took a ragtag bunch of kids, and they really were ragtag, let me tell you, who had never participated in distance running. There were no programs in town. Distance running was, just getting going as a sport. And he took that and molded us into the class of the conference and contenders for the state title. For me, it was a field of dreams story. It was a special moment in time, and I think about that a lot. Coach taught us the value of setting stretch goals, of working hard, of teamwork, of discipline, but he also taught us the importance of having fun along the way. Running lessons became important life lessons. Now, I'd like to end with a very special thanks to Coach Balcom, but also to the Rockville High School Athletic Department and the town of Vernon. Coaches don't get a lot of positive publicity, and they certainly don't get a lot of credit. But we were successful because Coach believed in us and trained us to be as good as we could be. I learned how to be a coach for my 4 kids from Coach Balcom, and by extension, how to use coaching as a business executive. My thanks to Scott Smith, to Dave Broward, and to the Hall of Fame committee for today's events, and congratulations to all of the past, present, and future Hall of Fame winners. Thank you. And now it's my pleasure to present Tom for induction into the Rockville High School Hall of Fame. Tom Crane.
At this time, I would like to invite Tom and his presenting good service to the stage, please. Thank you, Pat. Our next inductee is a 1974 graduate of RHS who excelled in 2 sports primarily and did so at very high levels. As school year began each year, Tom would begin to lead his soccer team to the state tournament, scoring many goals and assisting in many others as a center forward. He played varsity in those tournaments all 4 years and earned important recognition, especially as an upperclassman. As a junior, he was all CBC first team and all area first team. As a senior, Tom served his team as captain, and at the end of that season, he climbed to an even higher level. After his senior season, he was placed on the first team in CBC area and first team All-State. He was team MVP and was the leading scorer in the CBC with 13 goals. That was Tom's fall season. When the weather turned warm again, Tom turned his considerable athletic ability to baseball, and when we looked at his record on the diamond, a familiar pattern emerged. He helped lead his team to the state tournaments during his final 3 years, and by the end of his senior season, he found himself on the all-CBC and all-area first teams. He was team MVP, team captain, and he had the highest batting average, a gaudy .442, to go along with his strong defensive work at second base and shortstop. Truly a great all-around player. With the best of reasons, he credits Hall of Fame coach Chuck Simon in soccer and coached men's hockey and baseball for much of his success. This afternoon, Tom joins the rather exclusive club of former RHS athletes in the hall who will name RHS Outstanding Athlete. Congratulations. And now, to present Tom is his close friend, Bruce Ferris. Bruce?
Thank you, David, and good afternoon, everyone. I graduated from Rockville High School in 1973, and during my time here, I had the good fortune to become friends with Tom Crane. And while David is documented, as you just saw, his athletic career was quite impressive, and he was an elite athlete at the time that he was here. But what I want to share with you briefly is that he's become an elite person since he left here. And I'm proud to call him my friend of 50 years now. And Tom has always focused on three things, and that's his family, his friends, and his faith. Tom left Vernon in 1980 after marrying his high school sweetheart, Kim Edson, and followed Kim's family to Hoover, Alabama, where he started a career with State Farm, which lasted 35 years until his recent retirement. A remarkable accomplishment, particularly today, which speaks to the character of the man and his loyalty. He raised 4 wonderful children. He's added 2 grandchildren to that mix. And along the way, he did all those things that good parents do. But what I want to share with you is what else he did. And that is he's helped others throughout the 40 years, and Kim too. They ran what I refer to as the Hoover Hotel, or the basement boarding house if you prefer. And during that time, and still today, they've taken in family members, friends, neighbors, strangers, and even employees who were in need of help, a place to stay, no questions asked, just the conviction of Tom and Kim to help. And I think that's a selfless motivation that I'm quite proud of in my friend here. But Tom's also been about friends. And they say you can gauge the character and the measure of a man by the circle of friends he keeps. Tom's is not only wide, but it's deep. It runs from Vernon to Birmingham and Hoover and across the country. And many of those, what's truly remarkable to me is that the duration of those relationships. They've lasted, like mine, since the days of Rockville High School, and testimony of that is the people that are here today to support Tom in this wonderful recognition of his career here. But it's also about his faith. Tom has always focused on doing the right thing all the time, not just when someone's watching. So how do I sum you up, Tom? In short, he's an individual that's grateful for his family. He's a friend that you can count on, not just when you need him, but all the time. And his faith, he's full of, I'd say, gratitude, but also he lets his actions speak louder than his words. And so I'd like to share a quote that I'm fond of that I think fits Tom very well, particularly in this situation. And that is as follows. Success ends with yourself. Significance begins with others. In other words, it's more important in life what you do to help others. And while Tom had great accomplishments here on the fields of Rockville High School, what I want you to be aware of is what he's done since he's left here. Because he's truly been a significant person, he's helped others, and he continues to do it today. So it is my pleasure to present, and it's my privilege to present, Tom Crane for induction into the Rockville High School Hall of Fame. Tom?
Thank you, Bruce, for those kind remarks. You're a true friend. Thank you. Thank you for taking time to be here today, traveling from Florida. I know it wasn't easy with Dorian going on. Thank you, Hall of Fame Committee, for recognizing my athletic accomplishments. I'm honored and humbled by it. Also want to congratulate the other inductees here today. It's an honor to be entering the Hall of Fame with such an outstanding group. I spent a lot of time honing my athletic skills while in high school, I regret now I never made time for public speaking, so please bear with me as I continue. When the nominating committee requested that I send them newspaper articles about my days at Rockville High School, I dug out an old Sage Allen shirt box that my mom had kept all my newspaper clippings in. It was a nice journey back to a great chapter in my life, as Bruce Springsteen so aptly put, the glory days. I can still vividly remember the great wins, the tough losses, and specific details of these events. Kim gives me a hard time because I struggled coming up with a neighbor's name, but yet I can tell her how many times I struck out in 1974. I have some great memories. The upperclassmen that accepted me, helped me, and served as positive role models. All my teammates in the bonds we formed on and off the field. The faculty, students who supported and encouraged us. It was a great sense of community. Our coaches were outstanding. Don Geisler, Lenny Rock, Chuck Simon. They were strong leaders, communicators, and motivators. They knew all our strengths and weaknesses. They were organized and supportive and patient. We all admired and respected them. 20 years after I graduated, I unexpectedly ran into Coach Simon on one of my trips to Connecticut. I was playing in a tournament at Ellington Ridge with my buddy Glenn Tuttle, who's here today. Golf wasn't going well for either of us that day, and as we approached the green on the 10th hole, I saw someone standing behind the green with what appeared to be a couple of beers. At first I thought Tut was being a super host, but then I thought again and go, that's not Tut. I did not know that Coach Simon and his wife Joan were members of the club and lived behind the 10th hole. Coach had seen the list of the participants that day and was watching out for us. His timing couldn't have been better. He always had that knack of doing and saying the right thing at the right time, and that day was no exception. He gave us the beers, a few words of encouragement, and made plans to meet us in the clubhouse at the end of the round. His pep talk helped me for the remaining holes. I can't say that much for my buddy Tut. Through Dave Brower's efforts organizing soccer reunions, I kept up with Coach Simon. He was a great man who influenced many. His legacy continues to positively impact others through the Scholarship Foundation in his name. Playing soccer and baseball at Rockville High School built my confidence, self-esteem, social, and leadership skills. I learned the importance of discipline, hard work, teamwork. These life lessons were a great foundation for my 15 years coaching youth sports and my 35 years at State Farm Insurance. I feel very fortunate to have been part of the Rockville High School athletics, and I'm grateful for that window of time playing the sports I loved with a talented group of individuals and friends. Thanks to all my Rockville High School teammates that I had the pleasure of playing alongside, and to my coaches who were such positive influences in my life. Thanks to my parents who made my interest in sports a priority. We're a one-car family of 6, yet they were able to take me to all my practices and games. Thanks to my family and friends that are here today, and those that aren't, particularly Marty Fagan, a soccer teammate, and good friend, close friend, and former co-captain with me, Steve Schumi, who both were taken from us much too soon. Lastly, my love and thanks go to my wife, Kim. She's been my support and strength going back to my playing days here at Rockville High School, where we were high school sweethearts. 47 years later, she's still my biggest fan. Thank you.
baseball while at LHS, and credits his coaches and many of his teachers for believing in him and keeping their expectations high with him. Graduated from LHS in 1984, and excelled at Eastern State Connecticut University, having been very well prepared during his career at Rockville. As everybody returned to school in September, Jeff had already been working out with his soccer teammates for a couple of weeks, and that was how he began all 4 years at Rockville High School. Their best year was 1983, when he led his team to the quarterfinals in the state tournament. It was during 4 baseball seasons that he really excelled. His team won their conference championships in 83 and 84. In 83, they got to the quarterfinals at the state level, and in 84, they got to the semis. Jeff earned all conference honors in his junior and senior seasons, and made the all-state team as a senior. Because of his leadership, he served as captain during his senior season. After that season was over, he was scheduled to play the All-Star game, and he was also selected to represent Connecticut against Massachusetts. What a tribute to his skill. Jeff started all 4 years at Eastern, and during his time there, he set the national record for putouts at over 1,350. So here now to present Jeff Johnson is their close friend, Joe Burton. Joe.
Jeff Johnson, up 4th among the Hall of Famers. It's fitting because he was our cleanup hitter. 1984, Jeff was hitting lasers, making diving catches, and captain of the baseball team. Jeff also played soccer and basketball. I played soccer and baseball with him. In soccer, he had a booming left foot, taking all of our free kicks and taking shots on goal from 30 yards out, sometimes hitting. In basketball, he had a bruising style and a soft touch. I do recall, though, that Jeff didn't pass the ball very often in either soccer or basketball. Baseball was Jeff's sport. Jeff was different from an early age. In Little League, Jeff hit home runs as a 10-year-old and 11-year-old. No one did that. He wasn't just a great hitter, though. He was a smooth fielding first baseman, a good base runner who would take the extra base, and a terrific all-round player with passion and joy for the game. That's what separated Jeff. Let me give an example. Coach Wheelock, our Hall of Fame coach, asked Jeff to move to the outfield. Jeff was a first baseman from an early age, a very good one of the best I've seen there. His father, Gene, also played first base, making it to AAA. His brother was also a great baseball player. Jeff didn't complain. No problem, coach. Just put me on the field. Why did he have to move? The baseball team in 1984 was the original Bash Brothers. We had big kids who could hit the ball far. Coach Wheelock struggled to find positions for him. We had Al Molin, Jeff Toth. We had Bill Romanowski, who played NFL football for many years. We had a lot of guys who could only catch or DH. We had Scott Jamil, really smooth, great hitter, good fielder, no arm. You say, well, put him at second base. He couldn't make the throw from second base. He had to play first base. That put Jeff in the outfield. So while Jeff didn't complain about the move to the outfield, I have to admit, I did complain. I got to pitch the first game Jeff played in the outfield. It wasn't pretty. My fastball came in hard and fast and straight. And it went back out hard and fast and far. Bombs, 400 feet. Jeff probably lost 20 pounds that first game. And I must admit, 35 years later, I shouldn't have expected him to hit the 400-foot bombs, but he did butcher a few. Coach Wheelock came out to the mound, the most kind and loyal coach I ever had. He said, Joe, wind's really blowing out today. Why don't you take a rest? Jeff didn't struggle in the outfield for long at all. He took pride in every facet of the game, made himself into an outstanding outfielder. A few games later, he made 2 diving stops, diving catches, of the type you just don't see in high school. You see catches like that at Sports Center. Of course, I wasn't pitching then. John Steed was. John was an outstanding pitcher, great command, change speed, won a lot of games. He's here today. I would just like to make a plug for John and also for Mike Johnson, Jeff's brother, to be considered for the Hall of Fame, if they're not in already. And if there ever is a hall of just showing up or a hall of giving up bombs, I'd like to be considered as well. Jeff's great attitude towards life is mirrored in his attitude. I'm sorry, Jeff's great attitude towards baseball is mirrored in his attitudes towards life. You see it on Facebook, where he posts about his daughter's volleyball, his son's baseball, and his beautiful wife. I saw it when Jeff posted about his dad when he passed, and I was so moved that I got in touch with Jeff after many years. I had lunch with Jeff, and it was like time had stood still. His warm and generous spirit unchanged despite all that life was throwing at him. That was why he was a great ball player, and that's why he's an even better person. Congratulations, Jeff. It's now my pleasure to introduce you into the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
All right, thank you very much. Community members, thank you very much for putting me in. I'm very proud. I'm very humbled. To the other inductees today, congratulations. This is quite a great group here, and I'm very, very happy to be amongst you. I'd like to start today by talking about my Little League coach. His name was Art Hart, and I was 10 years old, and I had to go through the tryout process like everybody else, and he welcomed me into open arms from day one. And the spirit he showed coaching kids at that level, I've never seen before in my life to this day. And it set a tone for me moving forward with the coaches that I had through Rockville experience. And my next one in junior high school was Jim Booth. Jim Booth was a great coach, competitive, hardworking, grit, everything that embodied what I felt I was and what my teammates were. Art Wheelock, where are you? He did so much for us as a group of players growing up together. I can't say enough. I was looking to play for a place in college. He was hustling it for me, you know, writing letters to college coaches. I thought I was going to be the next Ted Williams. I wanted to go down south and, you know, play with the big boys. And little did I know that I found a pretty good home 25 miles away. And Art Wheelock was a significant part of that, setting me up with that. And I greatly, greatly appreciate that. I don't even know if I've ever told you that, but I do. The next thing I want to talk about besides my coaches, and Chuck Simon. Somebody else mentioned Chuck Simon. He was a great guy. And Joe spoke very nicely about my soccer skills. Didn't happen. I ran around on the field and kicked the ball as hard as I could. That was the extent of my soccer skills. But it was fun. We had good guys playing, and I enjoyed it. But the crux of why I'm standing in front of you is baseball. The other coaches that I had in my life, you got to bear with me on this one. My brother's here today. My dad's not. Two of the most influential people in my life to this day. My brother and my father. I never saw anybody work as hard to this day as my brother. He built himself into an outstanding baseball player. One of the best baseball players I ever played with, that I ever saw play. He played at UConn, he played in the College World Series, he was drafted by the Texas Rangers. Tremendous baseball player. The amount of hard work that guy put in, I think about that almost daily. My father, my best friend,
my hero, my mentor. He taught me everything about this game and how to play it. And I miss him every day. But he taught me a lot. The day I got married, when he was wishing me well, tell your wife every day that you love her when you wake up and when you go to bed at night. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with my father, he's kind of a rough guy, tough, real crusty on the outside, heart of a teddy bear. And he'd do anything for his children, his wife. I suppose I got a lot of my genes from him, so to speak. But I'm very proud to be here today, and I'm very humbled. I don't live in Rockville anymore, but Rockville is always a part of me, and I'm glad to be here forever. Thank you very much.
One of the things about having this job is being able to listen to the speeches, not only the presenters, but the inductees. I gotta tell you, the best ones will come from the heart. At this time, I would like to invite Lauren Pearson and her presenter, Tom Gordon, to the stage, please. Next up, and for a softball player, that's important, is a 2004 graduate of Rockville High School who gave 110% to RHS in one sport. On senior night of her senior year, she got to Mount Olympus by pitching a perfect game against her. Her career at RHS sounds almost too good to be true, like some Hollywood fiction, but it all happened out there and in the area schools. Bonnie played softball all 4 years and specialized in making life miserable for opposing players. She served as captain during her junior and senior seasons, earning all conference honors all 4 years, and she was instrumental in her team's qualifying for the state tournament all 4 years. The phrase, all 4 years, to be her trademark, stands on her terrific athletic career. RHS softball won the CCE's conference title all 4 years. And in how many years was she starting pitcher? You know it, all 4 years. After her senior season, she was named to the All-State team, clearly well-deserved. All told, her team won 66 games during her time here, and she was named the Journal Enquirer Athlete of the Week in May of 2003. And how special was achieving perfection on that May evening in 2004? Senior night, a few hundred people watching, 18 strikeouts. It's not Hollywood, but it could be, and it really happened. And now to introduce Lauren is her close friend and softball coach, Mr. Tom Gordon. Tom?
Good afternoon. I'm happy to see everyone here for this incredible event. I'd just like to share with you a little bit about Lauren before and after she was here at Rockville High. What she's done here was well documented, but she really is a person that has dedicated her whole life to her sport. And started when she was 7 years old. I was her first coach. And by the time she was 8, she was the best player on the team. By the time she was 9, she was the best player in the league. That's just the way Lauren was. Her entire career, middle school, she never lost a game that she pitched. Just carried that into travel ball for a local team that was founded here in Vernon. She became the best player on that team right away, as soon as she joined. And it ended up being one of the premium teams in the state. This team later became the crown jewel of the Connecticut Eliminator program, which was built basically by Lauren and her right arm. When you have a great player on a team, you get great players want to come and play with her, and that's how she actually built this program herself with a little help from some other players and coaches, but and to this day, they still are the best program in the state of Connecticut. Lauren once won 8 consecutive games, leading her team to a national championship game in Florida. By the time she arrived at Rockville High, she was known to be one of the top 3 players in the state. Starting her first game as a freshman until her final game as a senior. We just heard about her senior game. I was honored to be in attendance for that game, and she was absolutely magnificent. Every coach that faced Rockville High softball, they knew when Lauren was pitching that this was basically their World Series. She was the best player on the team in every aspect of the game. She had the best arm, she was the best hitter, she was excellent on the bases. Defensively, you couldn't hit a ball by her. And I'll leave you with one of my favorite Lauren stories. I remember when she was young, first tried out for my team. After a while, you could tell she was very dedicated, and she really wanted to become a great player. So after practice one day, her father, Bill Pearson, took me to the side. He said, you know, I bought Lauren one of those pitchback things and set it up in the backyard for her. And I said, well, that's great, Bill. You know, she can practice now. And he said, yeah, but she's throwing the ball out there for 4 or 5 hours at a time every day. And it's driving me crazy. All I can hear is the pitchback thing going ping, 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 ping. So I says, Bill, what you got to do is get her on a lot more teams. That way, she'll be playing more, she'll be out of the backyard. And that's what he did. But that story just represents who Lauren was and how hard she worked for everything she accomplished. And, you know, after high school, she went on to have a great college career at Nichols. I know she still holds a bunch of records up there. After graduation, she went and coached the women's professional team down south for a couple of years. And to this day, she still coaches and trains young athletes in Connecticut. So it's been a long journey for Lauren, from the age of 7 till she is here. So it is now my pleasure to present Lauren Pearson for induction into the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to begin by thanking the Hall of Fame Committee for organizing such a wonderful event to recognize some of Rockville High's greatest athletes. It's such an honor to be selected for such a prestigious award. My 4 years playing softball for the high school team left me with many irreplaceable memories and life lessons. Some of my fondest memories began at the age of 7. My presenter this evening, Tom Gordon, was my first softball coach. Playing for him really inspired me to play the game of softball, and the Slurpees after every win didn't hurt either. To this day, we still reminisce and enjoy talking about this sport. If it wasn't for him, I might not be here today accepting this award. Another coach who was directly responsible for my softball career I met in 7th grade, Mr. Maltese. Our relationship began in math class, where I quickly found out I was his favorite. Coaching me for 2 years at VCMS wasn't enough that after taking a 1-year hiatus from me, he decided to come coach me my sophomore year. While we had a lot of fun joking around with each other and pulling pranks, Mr. Maltesi wasn't afraid to remind us when it was time to be serious. I distinctly remember one afternoon when it was raining cats and dogs, running laps outside for forgetting the med kit. We conveniently got our conditioning in that day. He put up with my crazy antics when things weren't going just right, and me sometimes trying to change things to how I wanted to be. Dealing with me wasn't always easy. I'd like to thank Mr. Maltesi for making the years he coached me fun and memorable. To my teammates, thank you for making me look good. There were plenty of times they had to bail me out of trouble and make amazing plays behind me. They always were there to cheer me on and encourage me, even when I had my stompy face on. They're a huge part of why I'm standing here today. After my 4 years at Rockville, I enjoyed the sport so much, I went on to play in college. Immediately after college, I began my career as a softball instructor. The sport has inspired me to give back to hundreds of girls. My greatest joy was not my personal accomplishments, but the opportunity to teach the game and to love the sport as well. But even more so, I love being the mentor to all the young ladies I have coached. It has been amazing to watch them grow not only as a player, but as a person, and that is one of the most rewarding feelings. Thank you to my fiance, Brian, and my daughter, Kinsley. They are dragged out to softball games to help me cheer on all of my girls. They have to hear what new softball drama is going on all the time. And now Brian has to accept that I'm the better athlete in the house. I love you both. I'd like to close my remarks by thanking two of my most important people in my life, my dad and my grandma. Throughout the years, they have been my biggest fans and greatest supporters. It is without a doubt that I would not be who I am today if it wasn't for their guidance and the love that they showed me. Both of you made so many sacrifices through the years, getting to every practice and every game, spending countless dollars on travel teams and equipment, giving up your free time to make sure you're always there to watch me play, and so many other things. I hope you both know that everything you have done for me never went unnoticed. I love you both. Thank you, everyone who has made this day possible. And this has been an honor and something I will never forget. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to invite Amy Schwab and her former coach, Jim Martello, to the stage, please. Our next inductee is a 1987 graduate of IHS. He played 11 seasons in 4 sports: basketball, soccer, softball, and tennis. Fittingly, she credits her coaches for much of her success here. She specifically singled out her basketball coaches, both of whom are already in this Hall of Fame, Jim Martello and Art Elon. In fact, she told the Journal Enquirer they were the Batman and Robin of girls basketball. She also credits Ed Argento as her soccer coach, Karen Miller in softball, and Jane Goodwin in tennis. Speaking of soccer, she was a 3-year starter in goal, and in her junior year she served her team as captain and was named MVP at the conclusion of that season, and she was all CCC in both her junior and senior years. A born leader, Amy also served her teams as captains of basketball and tennis during her senior year. And speaking of basketball, Amy was a part of the dominant triumvirate that included Betsy Anderson Shea and Sarah Turkington Malaysian, and it's wonderful that she joins them in the hall. Amy was a 3-year starter and helped her team to win 2 conference titles. And for a very fitting conclusion to Within 4 years here at RHS, Amy was named the Female Scholar Athlete, and was so honored at the annual Scholar Athlete banquet at the Athletic Facility in Southington. Here now to present Amy is her head basketball coach, Jim Rockville.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming today. We hope you'll make this event part of your September calendar in the future. Let me offer my personal congratulations to the other 7 athletes inducted today. You should be honored by this. I'm sure you are. We're all very proud of you. It's my distinct pleasure and privilege this afternoon to present Amy Schrag, a 3-sport all-conference player and a 3-sport captain while playing soccer, basketball, and tennis for the Rams from 1983 to 1987. It's important to understand that all-conference selection recognizes the best 10 players in the conference according to the coaches against whom they have played that season. That selection is certainly high praise. Although every team has statistical leaders on whom they can lean for wins, every good tournament team needs that player who not only puts points and assists and rebounds in the scorebook, but that player who can reorganize the team when they get scrambled and ineffective, energize them when they get complacent on either the offensive or the defensive side of the game. For Rams soccer and basketball in the 1980s, that player was Amy Schrag. As Amy's basketball coach, I remember my confidence that Amy was the player with the calmness, the vision, the special ability to handle the ball against the press and close out games at the foul line, with a free throw percentage of 77% her senior year. As a soccer goalie, Amy had that ability to tuck the critical save under her arm and direct traffic of her defense and offense through those final minutes of a close game. I hope you had a chance to look at Amy's poster in the lobby today. She went on to play basketball at Bates College in Lewiston, Maine, where she started all 4 years, leading her team in assists, 3-point shooting, and of course, free throw percentage. As an All-American candidate going into her senior year at Bates, Amy drew high praise from her coach, calling her, I quote, "the strongest guard I have coached in my years at Bates." It's wonderful to see Amy again after all these years. I thoroughly enjoyed going over the articles from the games, the scorebooks from the tournaments. She was the glue that held those teams together decades ago, with an attitude, the perfect attitude for life as well as athletics. That attitude of, it doesn't matter who gets the credit or the headlines. To this day, I will acknowledge that Amy was the person who taught me not to spend any time worrying about things I can't change. Uncharacteristically wise and humble beyond her years then, her skills, commitment, and character have brought her to this stage today. I'm very proud of you, Schrager, and I consider myself very fortunate that I got the chance to know you and to coach you. I am honored, and it is with great pleasure that I present Amy Schrag for induction into the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Coach. It's wonderful to see you too after all this time. To say that I was surprised to learn that I was being considered for the Hall of Fame is an understatement, to say the least. But what a pleasant surprise it was, and what a wonderful honor. Thank you. Being more than 30 years removed now from my high school playing days, I don't remember many details from the many games and matches. I don't recall the specific wins and losses. What I do remember is that I loved playing high school sports. I loved my teammates. I loved my coaches. Ed Argenta, my soccer coach, Jumpin' Jane Goodwin, my tennis coach, and my wonderful basketball coaches, Jim Martello and Art Wheelock. You worked as hard and you set expectations high. I don't think that was always the case for girls' basketball teams in the 1980s, but you demanded that we play hard and to our highest level. Thank you for that. Setting expectations high is a good thing. I really loved playing for you guys. The other thing that I remember clearly is the tremendous support that we had from the community, from the parents of the players, from the students, and from the Vernon Rockville community. We had some big enthusiastic crowds. The gym was often full and raucous. It was exciting and it was fun. And that support extended even beyond graduation. One of my more memorable college games was played at Eastern Connecticut State University. It was a very big game for our team, playoff game, and it was my sophomore year in college. My sophomore year, it was 1 year removed from high school. And a large contingent of Rockville High School folks showed up to support me. Coaches and many parents of former teammates. I thought that was pretty special, and it said something about the community here. So just in closing, I'd just like to say thank you to my parents who are here all the way from Colorado. Thank you for making the trip. I had a bet with my friend Peggy, who was also here. Thank you, Peggy, for coming. I said, my parents won't make that trip. That's a long way to come. She thought that they would, so I lost that bet. So I'll pay up on that lunch soon, Peggy. But of course you're here. You were always there, and you're here now. So thank you very much for all the support and encouragement that you gave me in my athletic endeavors and in everything else in life. Thank you.
At this time, I will invite Sean Trask and Greg Smith to the stage, please. Our next inductee is a 1992 graduate of Rockville High School who started in 2 sports, cross country and baseball. He speaks with great pride of his days as an athlete here at Rockville, highlighting his relationships with his teachers, teammates, and coaches, especially Hall of Fame members Harry Garrity in cross country and Art in baseball. Before his fall seasons began, Sean would find himself running miles in summer evenings during captain's practices in preparation for the cross-country season. The successful cross-country runner knows the championships are made during the summer, and Sean's summer running paid off as he was named all-conference 3 times and all-state twice. He helped lead his team to 3 consecutive CCC East titles, and during those seasons, his team compiled a gaudy 64-0 record. Along the way, he served as captain during his junior and senior seasons. I'm confident that Coach Gary is observing today's proceedings with great pride. As the weather warmed up and Sean's considerable athletic talents turned their attention to baseball, he found himself on the mound to pitch for the Rams, and when he wasn't pitching, he roamed the outfield making great plays there. As a sophomore, he helped lead the Rams to the tournament semis for the first time in 9 years. A complete game, 2-hit shutout over Hartford Public that kept Rockville's unbeaten streak alive highlighted Sean's senior season. And just as great was the 4-3 win over Powerhouse East Hartford at home in his senior season. because during that win, Sean pitched in relief with a triple and scored the winning run. And Sean, Coach Wheelock here this afternoon is observing your induction with just as much pride as Coach Gary. And to top it all off, after his last season, Sean was awarded the Alan Dresser Scholarship Athlete Award in the class of '92. So now here to present Sean is his close friend, Greg Smith. Greg?
Thank you, Coach Smith. Congratulations to all the inductees today. Well deserved. I first met Sean back in kindergarten more than 40 years ago at this point. That makes me feel old. I'm still not sure where that time went. When I think back to our childhood, most of what we did back then was play sports or games of one kind or another. Sean, Darren Stewart, and I, we all lived in the Merline Road area. In fact, my parents, Darren's parents, and Sean's parents are all here today. We're still close. I remember watching Sean play Zaxxon on ColecoVision during playdates. It was rare that the rest of us got a chance to play. He was too good. I remember playing quarterback. One of us would pretend to be Steve Grogan or Tony Eason. One of us would be Irving Fryer or Stanley Morgan. One of us would be some unidentified cornerback. I remember walking down to Vernon Lanes to bowl a few frames, usually in the middle of winter, or playing Payday, Clue, or Cards while we listened to the Pats, the Sox, the Celts, or the Whalers on the radio. In high school, we joined the cross-country team. Sean because he was fast, me because I wanted to stay in shape for baseball. In the spring, we played baseball together. He and I would drive to practices and games together, work out together all winter, discuss the upcoming season. In the summer, we played Legion ball with Smitty and Berg, or ripped up the golf course together, which continues today. I think it's safe to say that I've probably played the most sports in my life with Sean than I have with anyone else. 3 words pop into my head when I think about Sean and the athletic experiences that we shared: speed, confidence, and teammate. Speed. Sean's life revolved around speed. He was always fast, even going back to our Vernon L days. In first grade, he beat me to the swing set, kissing Kathy O'Brien before I could get there. Boy, could he run. He would always play Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue to get himself pumped up before a big cross-country meet. The first words being, "When I get high on speed." On the cross-country team, he was always one of our top finishers. I think you saw his board out in the lobby there. On the baseball field, he was also one of the fastest players, running down long fly balls, beating out ground balls that would be sure outs for anyone else, or stealing a base if Coach Wheelock needed one. Confidence. Sean was always confident in himself. You've heard the term confident bordering on cocky. This was Sean. He always believed in himself, and he always believed he could beat anyone. This is what helped him excel in both cross-country and in baseball. He may not have been the tallest or strongest player out there, but he had confidence and an off-the-chart compete level that he took to every game, and he usually came out on top. Teammate. Sean was always cheering on his teammates, encouraging them to finish strong or get the last out. In the cross-country, he would finish a race, usually several minutes ahead of the rest of us, and then come back onto the course, yelling and driving and pushing us to get our own personal best times. On the baseball field, he would always encourage his teammates, pick up a teammate after a rough play in the field. I think back to high school. I really enjoyed my time in high school, and thinking about this in particular, putting together these thoughts, a huge, huge part of that was the time that I spent with Sean, competing at the highest levels Rockville Athletics had to offer. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my great pleasure to present my very good friend, Sean Trask, for induction into the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Thank you, Smitty. Smitty. He hit on a lot of things that I had thought about and couldn't quite fit into my 5 minutes, but first thing I do want to recognize is the people that have come here today for me. I've known them a really long time, and they've always been great supporters of mine, and you guys are always much better friends than I could return, so thank you. But anyway, bigger, stronger, faster. That is the expectation of a modern athlete. And while I was in high school, 1 out of 3 was all I had. Now, eventually I did get bigger and stronger. No son of Brian Trask remains 135 pounds forever. But at Rockville, I was just faster. Cross country was a great experience for me here. I was good at it, and all of my best friends did it, like Smitty and so many others. And there were girls. What's not to like? Coach Garrity was a wonderful supporter of me and made sure that I understood what it took to excel at this sport, but he also made sure I understood what it meant to be a leader as well. After my sophomore season, he invited me to his house one Saturday where I helped him move and stack firewood. In addition to gaining free trial labor for the morning, he used the time to explain to me the importance of leading the team and being supportive of the other guys. He knew that I was not a big rah-rah guy. The support that Smitty referred to wasn't always vocalized or didn't come naturally, but he explained that I needed to find a way for myself that I was comfortable with to bring the team together as best I could, and I was better prepared to lead the team after that day. I also got a grilled cheese sandwich out of it from Mrs. Garrity. But Mr. Garrity was also very adept at tapping into that competitive fire. It's in there. Smitty alluded to it. That's the Pat Trask side that's always in there. But sometimes it needed a little coaxing, and Mr. Garrity kind of knew all the little buttons to push to do it and pull that killer instinct out. There was one race here at home. There's actually a picture of it on the board out there. We were getting ready to run against South Windsor, and John Hammond was a very, very good runner. I think he was also All-State, but he was a very good runner for South Windsor. And so anyway, the race was going, and I pushed him pretty hard. It was our home course. I knew what I needed to do, but he stayed with me. I couldn't get rid of him, and so we were running side by side, but we got to about the last 200 or 300 meters, and I hit the corner, I hit the jets, and was able to beat him by a good distance. And Mr. Garrity came up to me afterwards, and he said, "When I saw you turn the corner and turn it on, I said, 'Die, Hammond.'" So, when people find out that I used to run cross country, they just naturally say, "Oh, you like to run." I don't. I really don't. I ran because I was good at it and because all of my best friends did it. I liked racing. I liked competition. But I don't like to run. I've run thousands of miles. I haven't the foggiest idea what a runner's high is. I have never, I think it's a myth. I don't know. But anyway, but I enjoyed it, honestly, because of my friends and because we won a lot. It was a lot of fun. And it was a good opportunity for me as well, because guess who decides if you get to play? If you get to play? The clock. And the clock don't lie, and the clock doesn't care if you're small. So it's hard. It was hard to break into the baseball lineup here. We had a lot of exceptional players, Matt Valentino, other actual Hall of Famers here, a really good group of guys and a very impressive group of people. And it was hard to break into that. So when you had your chance, you had to make the most of it. And so it was my junior year when I was able to have my first varsity start, the one Mr. Smith alluded to at Hartford Public. 7 innings, 0 runs, 2 hits, 0 walks, 5 strikeouts. I did not see the mound the rest of that season. I'm sorry I let you down, Wheels. But no, I love Wheels. I just so enjoyed playing for him. He just made baseball so much fun for us. He supported his players, as was alluded to earlier. But he also asked us to consider the important questions in life. There was one of those lovely New England early spring days where it was cold enough so that your nose just kept running, and Coach Wheels turns to Smitty and he's like, "Smitty, where does snot come from? It's like a never-ending supply. Like, where does it all come from?" And that's what sports does. It makes you ask the important questions in life. But I do love Wheels very much. And I love Lou Bizzano too. I cried like a baby at his wake. He was a big influence on all of us at that time. He was nuts, but he loved baseball and he loved us kids. One day at practice, he pulled his baseball pants down in the middle of center field to make sure that we knew the proper way to wear sliding pants and have our socks taped up so they wouldn't fall down. This is when you used to wear the pants high on the knee. And he just pulled his pants down in the middle. He's like, this is how you do it. This is how you do it right. Anyway, none of us forgot that lesson. I did not forget that. And never be satisfied was his mantra, and that's a lesson that can be applied throughout life. But I am very excited and truly honored to be here. I am so happy to be inducted into this Hall of Fame, and especially happy to be able to come on the same day as Chewy, Matt Valentino. I always admired him as a great athlete when we were playing together, and again, to be standing here today makes me very proud. But I've always been proud of being from Rockville. The time when I was here, we had every reason to be proud. It was an amazing time to be here, class after class of exceptional athletes and exceptional people. I used to love going to the gym and looking at all the banners and looking at all the times when a year that I was here was up on a banner for a conference or state championship. It's impressive to look at. But now looking where a lot of these classmates are now in their lives, in their chosen professions, we have presidents of companies, vice presidents, university professors, people in the Harvard Business Journal, representing NASA on Good Morning America, like our friend Jeremy. Again, it's impressive, and I'm very proud to be a part of that group. The Trask family is a bit nomadic. We were in town for about 30 years, long enough for me and my brothers to attend Vernon schools, but I like to think that during this time that we made an impact. My mom's work with the Junior Women's Club established programs in town that are still going on today, and my dad was heavily involved in youth sports and Cub Scouts, and so he clearly touched hundreds of other kids besides me and my brothers. He was especially involved in soccer. And the two of them certainly made an impact on me, teaching me how to work hard and do things the right way, and supportively pushing me to do my best and reach whatever goal I set for myself. And I like to think that my brothers had an impact too. Ryan was a 3-sport letterman, 3-time all-conference and state runner-up wrestler, and a football team captain with a pick 6 of over 85 yards against South Windsor his senior year. And Jason was a 2-time captain of the wrestling team and the best 125-pound nose tackle you'll ever see. But my time at Rockville had a hugely positive impact on me, and I hope that this recognition shows that I had a positive impact on it. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to invite Matt Valentino and Hartley Lyon to the stage, please. Next up, 1991 graduate of RHS, who concentrated on soccer and baseball and excelled in both. And once spent the winter season of his junior year as a cheerleader for Rockville, on which he earned his varsity level. And speaking of varsity leaders, he earned 3 in baseball, 3 in soccer, and 1 in cheerleading. In the fall, Matt, known as Chewy, been referred to as Chewy a few times this afternoon. Here's the story. But he's in 7th grade. He's in 7th grade. An Italian soccer coach pronounced Matt Chewy. And Chewy has a nickname in his book. He was a 4-year starter on the soccer teams and he served as captain as a senior. He was selected all CCs after his senior year. He played sweeper, often the first line of defense in front of the goalie who gets the credit for saves. So it was in soccer, as Matt gives credit to his Hall of Fame coach, Chuck Simon, that the team comes first, that you're part of something larger than yourself. And even though the stat sheet might not recognize the sweeper's efforts, the teammates wrote a good one, and clearly that was. We call it the working man's mentality of the position. Awesome. Like this. And that's partly why he and Coach Simon work hard together. When it came time to baseball, and by the way, wasn't it Tom Boswell who said never starts on opening day? Matt found himself in the outfield for the Rams, a 4-year starter, captain as a senior, and all CCDs for his junior and senior seasons. But that only tells part of Matt's story. He appropriately credits his head coach, Hall of Famer Art Lewin, with being a father figure, for teaching him the meaning of the phrase, turn the page, and for helping him become the man he is today. And today he joins his baseball coach in the line. So big. Matt, along with his fellow inductees this afternoon,
You got me all flustered. Sorry. First of all, on my part, I want to thank all my former players for all the kind words that you've had for me. And when I was coming up here, I asked Greg, which I used to call Pops Smith because he looked like an old man, if he ever found out where all that snot comes from. Congratulations to all of you who have been inducted into the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame. It is a great honor, and I certainly am honored to be the presenter for one of the best athletes I had the pleasure of working with over my 42-plus years as a teacher-coach here at Rockville High School. Best known as Chewy to everyone, and he was loved by all. Chewy's stats don't even begin to show what a great player he was. I could have put him out in center field. This is the kind of athletic ability he had. I could put him out in center field with no other outfielders, and he would cover from foul line to foul line, and I am not kidding. One story I have is as a sophomore in the state tournament against Fitch High School, we played up at Henry Park at the time. Late in the game, we're down by 2 or 3 runs, I believe. We had 2 runners on, and I decided, what the heck? I have great confidence in Chewy. He can get this done. It was like his first time in a tournament game, and it was exciting. We took tournament like every game was the World Series. So I pulled the captain out, talked to him for a minute. I said, Chewy, come on, you're going to hit. You can do this. I have confidence in you. And what do you think he did? He struck out. What a great move on my part. Turn the page, right? One thing that, again, sticks out to me is Chewy was like the Pied Piper. We used to run Pee Wee baseball at the high school here with hundreds of kids. We ran a summer camp called Catch the Fever. We stole it from Major League Baseball. And all my players
worked for us. They actually got paid to do this.
What?
To catch the fever you got, money. Scott Nickel took it all while he was sleeping in the car. And like the Pied Piper, Chewy would show up and everybody flocked to him. They all wanted to be on his team. That's the kind of person he was, the personality that he had. I never, in all my years, have heard a bad word about Chewy. And that's a fact also. I take great pride for being not just a coach to him, but a father figure to him. To this day, he sends my wife and I a Christmas card every year. He has not missed a year. He was out in Arizona for a long time, and we got a card every year. Love you, Chewy. More than a Hall of Fame athlete, he is, in my mind, a Hall of Fame person in life, someone who I certainly consider part of my family. It is now my pleasure to present Matthew Anthony Chewy Valentino for induction into the Rockville High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
All right, those are some excellent words. Thank you, Coach Wheelock. I want to also say thank you to the Hall of Fame Committee and congratulations to all of the inductees here today. I am honored to be a member of the class of 2019 Hall of Fame. Thank you. I'm sure everyone's eager to get to the bar, so I appreciate everyone's patience. I'm in the process of trademarking the saying, save the best for last. But LeBron James's attorneys have beat me to it. There are so many people to thank, so I want to start with most of my youth coaches. Now that I have children, Michael 8 and Lily 11, and I'm coaching them in their sports, I now have a much greater appreciation for what all the coaches and everybody did for me when I was younger. All the time and energy developing practice plans, and just being there. People say, why do you do it, Chewy? Why do you coach? And I said, because someone helped me, when I was younger. And now I have the ability to help other people and to return that favor, to give the next generation my knowledge of the sports that I grew up playing and loving, and also about life and the lessons in life. As was mentioned earlier, turn the page was one of Coach's favorite lines. I also use from Little League, ducks on the pond, all right? And don't aim the ball, which I still don't understand, but I use it myself when I coach kids. And then this one we might remember, Scott Nickel. Oh no, Frankie, no you don't. That's from Howard Daniel, my Little League coach. In soccer, a lot of you may not know, but my father actually, with a group of people, started Vernon Youth Soccer Association back in the 70s. So I want to thank my dad and everybody else for starting that, and it's still flourishing to this day. All right, thank you, Mom. I heard you used to have the early meetings at the house, so thank you for putting up with those meetings there. I don't remember them. Some of my youth soccer coaches, Gino Petrello. Mr. Smith just told you the story. That's where I got my nickname from. Machu, Chewbacca, Chewy, and it stuck. Everybody I met playing in high school from other towns or in college was like, what? How'd you get the name Chewy? Why Chewy? So I've explained it numerous times. Also want to thank Rocco Petrella, Watson Bellows, Steve Pike, and Chris Green, who coached me in both soccer and baseball, who's also a Hall of Fame member himself. Some of my best memories when I look back are from Little League. Whenever we get together with friends, we usually talk about Little League more so than we talk about high school and other things. And I had such a great time. And we have bragging rights because Villa Apartments won it my 11 and 12-year-old year over Maple Grove. I want to thank my coaches in Little League, Hans Peterson and Fran for helping me out, and a special thank to Mr. Howard Daniel, who coached me in Little League and also in Farm League and in the Rockville All-Stars Little League. And I also want to thank you for really teaching me about baseball and about how to play baseball at a little higher level and the positions and the technique a little bit more associated with real baseball. And also, I just got to say thank you for moving me from third base, where I made 3 errors in 1 All-Star game, to the outfield. That was the best move anybody ever made, except for when I struck out. I also want to thank my mom. Thank you for all that you have done for myself, my brother and sister. Raising 3 kids on your own must have been difficult and hard, but you never showed it. Thank you. I love you. I just knew that I had to have the kitchen cleaned before she came home. Thank you to my sister Ellen for keeping me and all my friends in line in high school, and for being the manager in soccer my senior year. We learned as we were to get together, we just couldn't throw an axe at a tree when she was around. It was fine. To my older brother Dan, I just want to say thank you for showing me the ropes, both on and off the field. I have always looked up to you and always will, and I appreciate all that you have done. I'm sorry, but not sorry about that 7-year unbeaten streak I had against you in wiffle ball, where we had a curb, where we call it the black wall, saved me a few times. Coach Wheelock, I just want to say especially thanks. Thank you. I love you as well, and you've always been more than a coach, but a father figure to me. And you stole my thunder telling that story, but that was one of the biggest moments in my life, because what it did was, as a sophomore, I was on the bench and I was just eating sprees and candy with everybody. I didn't like a game in the state tournament, I'm not getting in. And then I hear this Chewy. I'm like, what? First thought was, oh, crap. And then I got the bat and struck out. But you know what, after I reflected on it in the past, after that, I said to myself, you know what? If Coach Wheelock has that confidence in myself, I need to have that confidence in myself. From that moment on, I went from a kind of shy individual to getting a little bit more confidence in myself. And I thank you for that. Back into high school for soccer. Sophomore year, I was called up to get on the varsity. The team started 0-2, and I was called up, and I heard after the fact that the only reason I didn't start the season on varsity is because I could not run a 6-minute mile. Matt and Sean, you guys know that, but I still can't. I don't know why that had much to do with getting on the team, but I failed miserably at running the 6-minute mile. I also want to say thank you, Sean Trask mentioned before, sweet Lou Bonanno. I loved him. He was a great coach, great mentor, and he just had that attitude that you wanted to go run through a wall for him. He was great. He always made you laugh at the right times. Thank you, Coach Lou. I appreciate everything. Thank you for my Legion coaches, Jim Martello and Scott Smith on the Hall of Fame committee. Thank you for taking me to all the games as well before I had cars. I'm also very fortunate to have been coached by 5 members of the Rockville Hall of Fame during my career. Coach Wheelock, Coach Simon in soccer, Coach Chris Green in baseball and soccer, Coach Jim Martello in baseball. And for the Vernon Orioles, Coach Steve Krajewski. I said his name right finally. Also, thank you to Coach Simon for that moment when you brought me up senior year. You were the best person, you were the nicest individual, and I thank you for that opportunity. We didn't do too well our sophomore year that year. We didn't do as well junior year in soccer, but senior year we started off doing pretty well, and we're 6-1-1, and then I don't know what happened. We finished 8-6-2, made it to the state tournament, lost on a overtime PK on a horse call, I'll just say. But I also want to thank a lot of my teammates during my time, my line mates on defense, Chuck Bellows, Kevin Donovan, Matt Huey. My other classmates played with Joe Petrella, Greg Martello, Corey Knowles. There's so many other people to name. In baseball, my fellow classmates, Scott Nichol, Steve Mikulski, Greg Martello, and Dan Oman. Thank you, guys. There's so many others, again, as I said, I just don't have time because it's getting to be closing time. I also want to thank my wife and my kids. Thank you for, I love being a husband and a father to you guys. Just thank you. Sports has taught me a lot over the years. It's mirrored life in so many ways. You know, sometimes you strike out, sometimes you hit a home run. Sometimes you strike out in a state tournament game. That's okay. It makes us stronger. The sun will come out tomorrow, right? Sorry, Annie, I think she's trademarking that one, right? It kind of reminds me of when we were in high school with the yearbook quotes. Everybody had those quotes in your yearbook. White Snake was big at the time. So, so a lot of my friends use the phrase, I don't know where I'm going, but I sure know where I've been. I just remember the video, but. When I was looking for my quote, I was looking around, and we didn't have the internet then, and I just saw some books and saw a book of quotes. And I looked through it, and I found one by Confucius. And it says, our greatest glory is not in never rising, but in rising every time we fall. I would like to think that over my life and in sports, I've risen more times than I've fallen, and will continue to do so. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. Thank you.
I am confident that you will agree with me that we heard some awesome speeches this afternoon. And for all of you inductees and presenters, thank you very much. We have a little bit of housekeeping to clean up before we say good afternoon. Please consider the Hall of Fame Committee joining it, always looking for assistance. Nominations for the Hall and the Williams Exceptional Service Award can be made by contacting any committee member. And we expand that. Please support the athletic teams here at the high school. Consider getting involved with the game's booster club. For more information, please contact Athletic Director Jeff Bell. And a very special series of thank yous. The Superintendent of Schools, John McCary, Jeff Barrow, our Athletic Director, the custodial staff, the high school here, their assistants throughout the year this afternoon, the RHS and Ag Department for their help with our local years and our corsages, bands and grading of the romantic for making all of our tracks, Nick Lister for hanging all of the Hall of Fame plaques and pictures a lively display. Emily's catering with the forest that they have with the final food once again. And again, the members of the Hall of Fame committee, thank you very much for your dedication and work throughout the year. And finally, Corey LaFontaine, who this morning set up our next lights. Thank you very much. So one reminder for the Hall of Fame, you guys know, please take your display items at home with you. If you got these, the three members of the hall, you have made Rockville High School, you have made Rockville High School proud. I just want to leave you with one quote from a sports writer, Tom Gucci, who once wrote, "A prize today. Forevermore, you will walk in no one shall." Once again, everyone, thank you